I'm Jack Berryman, ACSM historian, and we're here in Las Vegas today. We're going to talk with Deb Riebe this afternoon as part of ACSM's Distinguished Leaders in Sports Medicine and Exercise Science video series. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Deb. Appreciate you taking some time to come up here and talk a little bit. And so, I just wanted to start off with your maybe where you grew up and went to high school, and were you active in sports then? Did you like physical activity then? And then where you went to college and those kinds of things, just to start.
Okay. Well, I grew up in West Warwick, Rhode Island, and that's where I went to high school. I was very active in sports. Of course, that's when Title IX just came along.
So early 70s. Huh?
Yeah. And I graduated in '76 from high school.
Okay.
So the same group of girls we played field hockey in the fall, basketball in the winter, and then softball in the spring. You know, there were like 10 of us that pretty much made the rounds.
That was the team.
That was the team. And so I was always interested in sports. The natural thing for me was to go to college for physical education.
Yeah.
And we happened to have a guidance counselor who had gone to Springfield College, so he had highly recommended Springfield College.
Which is where Mike went. That was just here.
Okay. And I went to Springfield College, had a wonderful experience, but discovered that teaching physical education probably was not for me.
Oh.
While I was there, they had started a new exercise science major, but I was, I think, in my junior or senior year, so it would have, required additional schooling. So
Yeah.
I went and student taught. Did
Which
really
is
confirmed
what you were to do
that it wasn't for me. And ironically, we had to coach as part of our experience. And ironically, they actually offered me a position. They wanted me to coach the junior high basketball team, and I was certified to teach general science because of the sciences.
This was your practice teaching?
This was my practice, which we did in Virginia, and I turned
they
them.
sent students a long way.
They did, yeah. Well, there were so many physical education majors at Springfield at the time, so we had gone anywhere, and I turned them down. Did tell my parents. Didn't have a job. Got just a job I could have gotten out of high school, and about 2 months after I was out working.
So this was about 1980.
It was
probably.
1980, yeah, for the outlet company. There was, of course, you got jobs through the newspaper in those days. There was a blind ad in the newspaper. Do you like exercise? Send your resume in to the Journal Bulletin, the newspaper. So companies didn't have people calling them.
Yeah, what town was this? Or
this was in It was in Rhode Island, Warwick, Rhode Island. Yeah, I was back home.
Okay.
And it was to work in a health club. And I had the interview. I got the position, didn't know anything about it, but knew immediately that I was home working with adults.
Darn. Well, and you already had a degree then in physical education.
Right, and again, people didn't have exercise science
degrees. I was going to say,
degrees.
you had a much more preparation than most of the people.
Well, I was really lucky. The company, they had salespeople, and they had, again, service people in those days. The service people, we all had degrees. Today we'd be called a personal trainer. In those days, we were in service.
Yeah.
And about a year after, it was a European health spa, and about a year after, it was bought out by a larger company. So I had an awful lot of opportunity to move up and start going into more than one facility. And I actually stayed in commercial fitness for 12 years.
I'll be darned.
Yep, so that's really where...
So you were on the firing line. I mean, you were teaching classes, and you were doing it all, I suppose, at that stage.
Initially it was, teaching group exercise. Of course, aerobics were new.
Yeah.
So it was, we actually used to bring in albums and put albums on.
To play the music.
To play the music, because they didn't have... Then we get to the point where we made our own tapes. Then finally they started selling them.
Sounds like me teaching my history classes. The students go, "What?
Are you kidding?" I know. So it was pretty. In the 80s is when the fitness.
Oh yeah.
So
Jane
it was
Fonda.
exactly. So it was a fascinating time to work in the field, and along the lines, I got my master's degree part time. So I had
Where?
University of Rhode Island.
Okay.
So I had done one class a semester, and lo and behold, it does get done. Really, no plans beyond that. They had started. It was a very progressive company that I worked for, and they actually started a program where it was a computerized program. It was called Body Tech, and somebody
Wow.
had they're a dime a dozen now, but back then it was amazing that
Pretty unique then.
it was
Yeah.
you did a risk factor analysis and you typed the information up and it came, but you needed a master's degree. I
So
didn't have one.
who bought your original club then?
It
What
was
the new,
it was American Health and Fitness. It was a single owner. He owned
Oh.
20 facilities in Connecticut, Rhode Island,
Oh,
and
okay.
New York.
Okay.
And then eventually it was Health and Tennis Corporation of America, which
Okay.
again offered a lot more opportunity. I traveled a lot, did a lot of training.
I think
other
I made
employees.
you get ahead of your story
I
by
may have.
asking that. So you're working on your master's. You finished that,
I did finish that, yes.
but you were there for at this place for 10 years. Did you say?
12 years,
12
actually.
years.
Mhm.
And then what was the next stop, or what happened?
Well, the next stop, the health club business is hard. It's
Mhm.
it's 12-hour days every day.
Every
I mean,
day,
you work a lot. I think I had grown with as far as I was going to grow with the company. A different company had bought it out, and philosophically, we didn't really see eye to eye.
Mhm.
So I thought I knew it was time to make a change,
Mhm.
and I had really just finished my master's degree, and I had some very good professors, and particularly my major professor kept pestering me about getting a Ph.D.
Wow.
And he kept saying, "So when are you going to go for that? When are you going to go
Was
for
this
that?"
someone in exercise science?
Yes,
or-
yes.
Yeah.
It was.
Had you heard of ACSM yet?
Yeah, again, the same, when I went back to graduate school, the same
For that
person.
master's.
For that master's.
Yeah.
We were, all of a sudden, my major professor said, I have to go to this meeting. And I didn't really even know what he was talking about. And he was one of these people, if he said you were going to a meeting, you were going to a meeting. So
Was it the New England chapter?
it was the New
or-
England chapter.
Oh, neat.
So not only did I have to go to the meeting, I had gone up the night before for what was called a stuffing party. And I
hadn't
did
heard
not
of
know what that
one, but-
was.
No, I didn't either.
But there I went, and you used to give out these little portfolios, and you had to put all the handouts in them and the pencil.
Oh, okay.
So it was all
Preparing
faculty
for
and
the,
physicians having this really big party.
fun
And
time getting everybody's
having-
handouts.
they were,
ready.
yeah, they did have a lot of fun, and I didn't know who any of them were.
Mhm.
And I just remember being there after about an hour whispering to my major professor, these people are all doctors.
Yeah, who's this? Who's
Because they have fun, who knew?
What do you remember? What year that was?
I think it was probably like 89, 88, 89, and in right around there, I would say that was my first
Yeah,
exposure, and it was
sure.
the New England chapter. So that's
Okay.
how I got introduced to this organization.
And this is when you're still doing your master's.
I was still, yes, I had just
Part-time.
right, and I had just started, so it
Oh,
took a
so-
while
okay.
to finish
And
my
then,
master's.
so was it the same professor that bugged you about doing
It
your
was the same
your
person,
doctorate?
yes,
Okay,
yeah, Dr. Bo Fernhall.
okay.
He's at Illinois
Yeah,
now. Yes.
okay. So you did it then, huh?
I did it. I had when I was working at the health club, Dr. Dave Camione from the University of Connecticut consulted with the same company.
Mm.
So I had met him on many. I mean, I worked fairly closely with
Yeah,
him.
and they had a good program.
They do have a very good program, and he ran the Center for Health Fitness at the University of Connecticut.
Mhm.
So when I made the decision, probably fairly abruptly, that I was done with the health club
Yeah.
business, it was time for a change, and I was going to go to grad school. I was a little bit older. I had a house. I was married.
I was going to ask if you had children or
Yeah,
were married. Or,
I no children, but I couldn't. I wasn't really in the position to just quit my job
just-
and do this.
yeah.
So I called
That's a
Dave Camione
commitment.
and told him, and he ran the Center for Health Fitness, and they were putting in fitness centers in the dorms. So honestly, I could do that in my sleep. That's a lot of what I did when I worked for
Yeah.
the companies, is I would
Yeah.
open up the clubs and buy the equipment and so forth. So I got a graduate assistantship,
Nice.
and
So it didn't cost you anything.
it didn't cost me anything, and I went to the University of Connecticut, and
Was Bill Kramer there? then?
he wasn't. Bill had been there. He had just left. He had left for a while,
And
taking
then
a
he
different
came
job,
back.
and then he came back. So I was in the non-billed
That's
years.
what Nicole was telling
Mm-hmm.
me too. Because did you guys overlap there at all or not?
No, Nicole was
Forgot
behind.
when she was.
No,
there.
she was behind me.
Oh,
She
okay.
also went to the University
That's
of Rhode
right.
Island.
Yeah, she came there later.
Yes.
That's right.
And so I knew Nicole because I still had friends that were students at URI. So I'd met Nicole, so her and I had passed across
Okay.
for years.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
So what did you do your dissertation at UConn?
UConn. Well, at UConn, do a lot of thermoregulation.
Yes.
And
yeah.
again, my assistantship was in the Center for Health Fitness, but I really wanted the training in the lab. I thought I really knew fitness and health fitness very well. I really wanted the training in the human performance lab. So we did primarily all thermoregulation throughout all my years there. My dissertation was comparing fluid replacement using IV versus oral rehydration.
Oh, that's neat.
So, yeah, it was quite a
Did you ever do anything with the people at Natick? Because, at the, what's it called, the Army?
The Army Institute. Actually,
yeah, I mean,
three of us went through, our PhD. We started together, went through together, and two of them worked for Natick.
I wondered,
And,
because
yeah.
they've been doing a lot of
Yes.
that type of stuff.
They do a lot
years,
of,
so.
we primarily focused in heat physiology, at UConn. But yeah, so
And you're not that far apart
no,
either,
no,
really,
actually pretty
so,
close.
Yeah. So when did you get your PhD, or when did you finish?
I got my PhD in 1995, and I was, like everybody, we were all looking for jobs and got a lot of rejection letters and so forth. And ironically, there was an opening at the University of Rhode Island.
Wow.
And I still lived in Rhode Island. My husband worked in Rhode Island. So I'm like, this can't be. So I applied for the position, and I had another offer, and I was trying to put that off to try to, see. And I was offered the position at URI, and I have been there ever since.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so.
Did you present papers at ACSM when you were in the doctoral program at UConn, or get more involved in New England chapter? Or
I did. I actually, I had always been involved with the New England chapter ever since I started going there. Part of my graduate assistantship at UConn was called a processing coordinator, which is a fancy word for the gopher. So I actually had to plan all the conferences with whoever was president for that year. But as far as putting the brochures together, so I knew it really was, but I knew everybody in New England. I mean, just.
Which helps when
it really does when you're looking for a job.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so the office was housed with Dave Camione at the Center for Health Fitness.
In stores.
In stores.
Yeah.
At the time, that's where the New England. So I was very involved with New England. And somewhere along the line, I was also named to the certification committee for ACSM. We also used to have a very big health fitness instructor in those days.
Yeah.
At UConn, we have a huge workshop and certification every year.
Yeah, for ACSM.
For ACSM.
Yeah,
yes.
Sure.
So I was involved in the workshops, again, while I was at UConn, and actually for years afterwards too. And I was actually named to the committee, and again, I was still working on my PhD, so I was pretty new to it. I'm not really sure what I was doing, but off I went. So that was actually my first kind of national service, was on the certification
But look at
committee.
all that experience you brought from your health club days. I mean, you weren't the typical PhD student at that stage.
I was not the typical PhD student. Again,
Right,
I think
right.
commercial fitness is a unusual way to move up
Yeah,
through the ranks
yeah,
and
it
do
doesn't
that.
happen very often.
No, so that was my first committee, and of course I've been to the national meeting every year since, I don't know, 1990-ish
Right.
or so. And yeah, we presented pretty regularly.
Yeah, and so when did you get involved with the summits? So you were on the certification committee.
I am on the certification committee.
But how about the summit? Have you been on the summit
I
committee
have not
too,
been on
or
this. No, I have not been on that.
Just invited to present?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Really my role here, like all committees, I rotated off the certification committee again a while back ago, and I was invited back on, I guess 4 years ago, and so I rotated back on, and I chaired the health fitness specialist subcommittee, and then last year I was asked to chair the CCRB, the Committee for Certification and Registry Boards. So I've been chairing that committee almost a year now, and that's part of the reason why I'm here, kind of representing the certification.
Oh, I get it. So your talk here is trying to let these people know about certifications and.
Yes.
So are you involved with the new exercises medicine certification?
And
or
that's what
whatever it's called?
it's a credential. That's what,
Credential.
where we're trying to differentiate the two.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
that's what we
Oh, good.
presented this year. So we had the first workshop that was put together, and that was a pre-conference program. So I came in and sat through that just to kind of evaluate how it went. And then we presented to the participants about the program itself, the exercise medicine, where it came from, and what we hope to accomplish with it.
Yeah, yeah. I got involved with that with Bob Salas
Okay.
early on. I mean, as I teach about that sort of in my history class. I mean, for a long time, exercise was seen as medicine,
Sure.
and then we sort of forgot about it, and then it came back.
It's
again.
back.
So, what's the interest level? Probably pretty high with the people here and
I think
nationally.
there's excitement. Certainly, people have questions.
Yeah, sure.
And so there's a lot of questions, and a lot of the questions are how are we going to market it to physicians to get them to know about it, and
because they're a key component.
they really are. They really are, but the physicians just don't know anything about exercise. So we're hoping that really sparks some interest and really gets the referrals out to people that can help their patients.
Well, it took a while for the exercise physiology connections to take place too. Historically, cardiac rehab was, all that took time. But I think that the more physicians understand that they don't know about lifestyle medicine, that it'll start changing pretty rapidly. And so, what's the? There's probably a very long story, but the difference between the credential and the certification. I bet you guys have had a long discussions about all that.
That's some of because it does get confusing, I think, to just even professionals.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we've done, and the entire certification committee's done a nice job, is defining what the certifications are, and really increasing some of the credentials necessary to be able to take these certifications.
Oh, I see.
So in the past, for example, you had to have a master's degree or a bachelor's degree in a health-related field. Now it needs to be in exercise science. So because the nurses and the physical therapists, before they could sit for our exam, but they don't really have our training.
Right.
So we've narrowed the scope to who can sit for the exams. The credential is a bit of an add-on. You have to be certified first.
I didn't know that.
So you have to basically demonstrate that you have a certain level of competency.
I see. Then you tack the credential onto that.
Exactly.
I was thinking it was the other way around.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, so the people that are going to get the EIM credential, they are already certified.
Beautiful. I think that's very neat. Does ACSM have any other credentials, or is that the first, the EIM?
They have, again, credential is a word that we've been using. They have the cancer fitness trainer.
Okay.
There is, I don't know the name of it,
But
certification to work
a few
with. There's others to
Okay.
work with people with disabilities.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes,
I
there
see.
are a few others.
That's what I wondered, if this was the first or it's that same type of thing. I can see, but it builds.
This is a bigger campaign, I think. The exercise medicine.
Yeah, it certainly can affect everybody.
Sure.
If it works right. But so the certifications, whatever can it be any of those certifications that you can build that on, or is
you can, but
you have to be? I don't know the names of all of them. But
what we did is we separated the EIM into basically levels 1, 2, and 3, depending on the patient population. So the level 1 is basically apparently healthy.
okay.
Level 2
Depending on-
is kind of a higher risk, and level
Who you're
3 is the
working with.
clinical population.
Yeah.
So, for example, to get the level 3 EIM credential, you have to have a clinical certification.
Get it.
Very
Very
so
nice. Very nice.
we're trying to help the physicians, figure out who the right person
Yes.
to refer their patient to
Yes.
is.
Yeah. Sounds like we've got it figured out.
Well, we'll see.
So has there been a first group yet, or is it so new?
It's so new. This was again, the workshop was also going to be online, so you can do it in 6 one-hour webinars. This was actually the first program
So this
here.
is the kickoff.
This was
so
the
to speak.
kickoff, yes.
Okay.
And there will be an exam, again, depending on your level of certification. For example, a clinical certification or the health fitness specialist, they don't have to take the exam. They've already shown competency.
Yeah.
But for example, the personal trainer, they have to take the program and the exam, and we hope to have the exam up within the next 2 to 3 weeks to get people to be able to start actually earning the credential.
Have you been involved in those exams too?
The
Designing them and all that?
yeah, we have we actually have an outside person doing that for us, and then we'll review the
Then you
questions
go
and go
over them
through
all
them.
and-
Yes,
Yeah. Exciting.
it is exciting.
Yeah. Have you given that program yet? I haven't looked at the schedule here. I mean, is that over? Or is it,
The EIM?
Yeah.
Yes, it was a pre-conference,
oh,
so it was
it
Tuesday.
was.
It was Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Because
okay.
it was again, it was 5 hours, so it was a long.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
long
okay.
program.
Was it well attended?
It was. I think about 80 or 90 people
Oh,
signed
gee,
up for it.
That's great.
So yeah, it
You
was.
couldn't have asked for anything better.
Exactly.
actually.
So we were pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I told you, 30 minutes. It goes really fast.
It does go fast.
I guess just finally, by the sounds of it, you've been happy with your association with the college and
I have, and
continue to do
again,
it. And,
the New England chapter is a phenomenal chapter. We're so lucky,
yeah, it's
and
the
that's been
oldest chapter. I
yeah
think.
great. Great friends and the people I've been able to meet. I'm an associate editor on the next guidelines book, so that's
Oh,
been such an
What
exciting.
edition will that be?
That'll be 9.
9? Yeah.
So that's been really an exciting
Yeah, I
project
remember
to.
the first one. Yeah. Well, I forgot to ask you, what are you teaching at Rhode Island then?
I'm in the Department of Kinesiology.
Okay.
I'm chair of the department, so I teach a little bit less because of we have a very large department. I teach exercise testing and prescription. I teach a general education course called The Wait is Over. It's on obesity.
Oh,
So it's
that'd be neat.
WEIGHT.
That's cute.
Yeah, so
That'd be a popular class.
it is. It's been a lot of fun because it's
Yeah.
students not in kinesiology.
I was
so
going to
it's,
say, you're not dealing with majors, you're
right,
dealing
so-
with the general
yeah. So
population.
that's a lot of fun.
Well,
as
gee,
well.
from not knowing whether you were going to get the job to the chairman of the department, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. So it's.
So how long have you been there then?
I
in
have
that
been
job?
there, gosh, 16 years. Dating
Neat.
myself.
Well, we're all, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, Nicole worked with us for a year or two.
Mhm.
She was at URI, so our paths have crossed quite a bit.
Yeah, very neat. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
It
for
was-
having me.
It was